So a couple of days ago, I had a really nasty fall. And I'm going to tell you this story, not because I want any sympathy or, oh, geez, I hope you heal well. I want to tell you the story of what I learned from it. Now, because I'm the kind of person that when something traumatic happens or dramatic happens in my life, I sit in quiet reflection, usually, and I try to analyze and think, why is this happening? You know, what is the message that the universe or the divine or myself, my higher self, is trying to give to me? And so I often look at things and ask questions about things, and I journal a lot, as you can see. But so this was the kind of fall that, hit the pavement at 25 kilometers an hour and causes real trauma to the body. Thank goodness not my face, but, but bruises and scrapes and, literally tumbling across pavement. And at the moment it happened, I remember there were people around that saw. And so the first thing I did was put on brave face, and I did not absorb the shock. It was just brave face. And I was just like telling people, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. Yeah, I was bleeding all over the place. There were scrapes all over me, and people were trying to help me, but I hobbled my way home. I wasn't far. And then I got home and completely lost my shit. Like I just completely had a meltdown. And that's when the shock and the trauma to my body set in. And the reason I tell you this is because at that point, I had a release, which was perfectly normal and natural. But the next day or that evening, I had a decision to make. And I had a decision to make about how I thought about this thing. And you can see my hand is still scraped up. But my decision was, how am I going to choose to overcome this? How am I going to choose to heal my body? How am I going to choose to think about this so that I give my body the optimal time and space and the right things to heal? And it was not easy. When you're in pain, having dealt with chronic pain before, when you're in pain, changing your mind about it is probably the hardest thing to do. And so I learned a few things. So first of all, I learned, I'm not fallible. And I am older and my body's not in the greatest shape. And maybe if I was younger and in better shape, these scrapes and bruises and this trauma of smacking the pavement at 25 kilometers an hour might not have impacted me the same way. But I immediately felt my vulnerability. I immediately felt how utterly vulnerable I am in the body. And I don't feel that often. I don't feel afraid of things. Those of you that know me, I'm a pretty, charge at it, go get it and gut it out girl. But suddenly I felt vulnerable because I was traumatized physically in my physical body and also traumatized in my head. And so I started to battle these thoughts about, oh my God, I'm older, I'm out of shape. I'm not what I used to be. Oh my gosh, this could have been a lot worse. I could have hit my head. I could have had a concussion. I could have destroyed my face because I went face first into the pavement. I could have broken bones. I could have broken a hip. I could have done all of these things. And all of these fears came up in me. And I thought, wow. So I stood back a little bit after, had my complete meltdown. I stood back a little bit and I just started to breathe. And I just said, you know what? This fear, this anxiety, this stuff that's coming up is not me. I could stand behind it and I could observe it and say, oh, look at what my body and mind is doing here. Look at all this fear. Look at all this stuff that's coming up. is this the basis on which I choose to live? And that was when I had to make a choice. You see, people, when they have an accident or a trauma or a fall, most people will wallow in it. Most people will get stuck in it. Most people kind of freeze that moment into their body and their mind, and that trauma, whether it's a car accident or hitting something or falling down the stairs or whatever, that trauma gets locked into our cellular structure and into our body on an emotional, mental, and physical level, that it actually now inhibits us. It makes us stiffer. It makes us not free. It kind of puts a grip on us with fear. And that actually can lead to more trauma and more accidents and more things, right? And it does lead to different thoughts, right? Because what happens when somebody falls a couple of times, right? You say, oh my gosh, you're so clumsy. And then that person starts to believe that they're clumsy. And now they're being super careful walking down the stairs. Or if you have had a traumatic accident, like, especially as an older person, and you've broken a bone and you've had time to heal, well, now you're going to be that much more careful to not repeat it, right? Because that fear is locked into your body. This is something I knew a long time ago when I was running a holistic clinic. I knew that when you have traumas or car accidents or falls or anything, that actually that trauma stays in the tissues. So one of the best things you can do is, for instance, first of all, go get an alignment, a chiropractic adjustment to help realign your spine and your structure of the body. An osteopath is also good, but also a massage therapist, because all of that tension and stress and fear and trauma gets locked into your tissues, and it literally creates knots in your tissues where the fear is held inside, and then you can actually manifest more injury. So getting back to my story, I haven't gone to a chiropractor yet, and I haven't gone to a massage therapist, but it's coming because I need to let my body heal. So getting back to my story, I had a decision to make that very first day. Okay, here are the immediate things to do, right? The emergency things to do. Clean yourself up, disinfect your wounds, watch your scrapes, put Band-Aids on, whatever it is, ice, heat, ice, eat, whatever. Try to move. And like I said, most people, they get traumatized by a fall or some accident, and then they stop moving, right? And I had a decision to make. I had a decision to make to keep moving forward, to decide how I was going to heal my body. So the very first thing I did was I sat and I meditated and I breathed, and I tried to breathe good energy into my body. I tried to imagine and visualize white light healing energy coming through my body and sending it to the parts of my body that had been traumatized, to let them release and let go. And with every out breath, I was pushing out all of that stress and anxiety and fear and all of that tension and all of the pain. I was literally pushing it out of my every pore. And I sat there with ice and, and then I started to feel better. Okay, fine. I'm still hurting, of course. But then I had a real decision to make. How do I reprogram my thoughts? How do I reprogram the way I'm thinking about this? And how do I keep stepping forward despite the pain? And again, what's the conventional wisdom? The conventional wisdom is, wrap everything up and then don't, sit still and don't move and try not to, stress yourself too much and try to relax. And maybe you go lay in bed, or maybe you stay sedentary for a while and let your body heal. And that's sometimes appropriate. But I also know that when you've got trauma to your muscles and your tissues and your joints, if you don't actually move and try to move in ways that you can, not to re-injure yourself or anything, but try to keep moving and keep the circulation going, your body's not going to heal very quickly, because you need that circulation and you need that movement to get things limber again, right? Again, everything's frozen, and I can't even close my hand because my hand's still swollen, but everything's frozen in that moment and frozen in your body. So the best thing you could do is try to stretch it out and try to move and keep moving a little bit, as much as you can. Stretch your boundaries. Now that does two things. It does something in your physical body to send a message to your body to release that contraction that you have experienced because of the trauma. But it does another thing because it aligns your mind and your body. It's basically putting your mind in charge of your body. You're saying, no, I will not settle. I will not be defeated by this. I am going to control what happens in my body, and I'm going to push my boundaries just a little bit more. I'm going to push myself to be okay. I'm going to envision myself healing and stretching and moving and allowing my body to restore itself to its normal function. Now, maybe you're not going to get there right away, but the simple fact that you've made that decision in your head, and that decision is now being transmitted from your mind to your body is going to start reciprocating, right? You're going to start seeing inflammation reduce. You're going to start seeing, okay, I can start to move a little bit better. I can stretch in this way and I can stretch in that way. Maybe I can't stretch, I pulled a muscle in below my butt bone, let's just say. Maybe I can't stretch that quite yet, but it's coming, right? You're sending that message to your body that healing is happening, and you're not staying stuck in that contraction. And of course, then you need to do the physical things, right? So it's a mind, emotion, calming the emotions, breathing, allowing, and a mind game, but it's also a physical game where, you got to give your body the good stuff. Maybe you have to take Advil because of the pain, which I did, and I don't like doing that, but I did because I needed to sleep and I knew I needed rest. But there's other things, right? What other things can I do to reduce inflammation? And so I took super greens and I started to alkalize my body, and I drank lots of water, and I started to visualize myself flushing out the trauma, flushing out toxins, flushing out whatever it was, and also putting good stuff into my body. And that's how you start healing. That's how you start healing on all levels. It's about alignment, right? It's about alignment of body, emotion, mind, thought, feeling. And that's the fastest and quickest way to heal. So this trauma could have lasted a whole hell of a lot longer. And I'm still not completely over it. Like, my hand is still swollen and it's hard for me to pick things up. I don't quite have my full mobility yet. But I am not stopping myself from taking the next step. I, for instance, am right now, sitting on my grounding mat, and I'm trying to sit in a lotus position. I've got a little bench here beneath my meditation bench beneath my body, which, by the way, I couldn't do yesterday, right? Like I tried. I would sit in different positions and I would try to move and I would try to do some yoga. So the thing is, it just brings me back to a lesson that I learned from my mentor, Mark Victor Hansen. He used to say, if you argue for your limitations, you get to keep them. And there's nothing more true in that statement than what goes on in your physical body. Because if you argue for the limitations in your physical body, your mind is sending a signal to your body, and your body's going to respond by accepting those limitations and keeping those limitations and that contraction in place. So anyway, all that to say, I'm on the mend, I'm healing, but I hope that I've learned a lesson and you've learned a lesson in not allowing yourself to be defeated by your circumstance, to take the time, take the moment to align. Now, there's also the spiritual lessons in this, right? Because I had a plan, I had, things to do, I had some pretty big goals to accomplish this week, and this kind of took the wind out of my sails. It kind of, winded me, let's say. So what are the spiritual lessons here? Well, number one, slow down. Because I was clearly going too fast. If I hit the pavement at 25 kilometers an hour, I was clearly going too fast. I was not on my motorcycle, thank goodness. But yeah, slow down. Maybe this is the universe telling me, okay, slow down, take a breath, align yourself, stay in alignment, and you'll be more productive. Now, this little trauma put a kind of a wrinkle in my plans because, it's my right hand that I jammed and got very swollen and traumatized. It's one of the areas of my body. But at the end of the day, I can't write. So now I'm having to adapt. I'm pushing my mind to say, okay, how can I adapt? I have some things I want to write. I'm writing a couple of books. I'm working on some new material. And now I have to do speech to text. Now I have to be really conscious. Now I have to say, okay, how can I accomplish what I want to accomplish without my hand, without using my hand? And so that's, again, pushing your boundaries, not arguing for your limitations. I could have sat back for a couple of days and said, I just need time to heal. I just need time to relax. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to allow this thing to run its course. But that is not the basis on which I choose to live. I just will. It's okay to accept that you have an injury or whatever, but I don't want to argue for my limitations anymore. I just want to keep stepping forward no matter what that looks like. So that's my story. I hope you got use out of it. If you like this story, please do give me a like and a comment down below, and consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, and we can share this journey together, because that's how we get more to life.
Hi, I'm Stephanie, and this is the More to Life Challenge, where it's all about alignment, body, mind, and spirit, so you can free yourself, find yourself, love your life, and find your more. Because 90 days could change everything.